We're live.
Oh my god. All right, so true, Questy. Here we are. Welcome, everyone, to episode 2 of the VODcast. I'm Commando, joined here by my co-hosts, Badgoblin and Edge TE. How are you guys doing tonight?
What's up? I'm doing well. I have personally had a truly dismal day, but I'm glad I get to at least end it off right, back at it again with this is, I mean, to be honest, we are probably the closest to the actual physical embodiment of the three tweakers. So it's good to bring that energy into a podcast.
I like so true.
Yeah, as far as my end, I'm doing the same old. Hopefully y'all are doing well. Everyone in the chat, welcome back to the second episode of the VODcast. OSW was unfortunately supposed to be with us today, but he is sick. So if you saw our scheduled tweet, we are going to be having the OSW interview on February 9th at 7 p.m. instead. He wanted it a bit earlier as well. So be sure to check that out. But for this week, we got a little bit of backup. We're going to be talking about Tetris Commentary, now a yearly fixture on the channel. As we talked about this a little before.
A yearly fixture on Edge's discussion.
OSW, truly just like me for real, because my ass cannot commentate in my current state. I am incredibly sick myself. I've gone from, like the day I got back from Snow is Infinite, I was coughing. And I was like, darn, I guess I caught a cold or some shit, or I caught COVID.
It wasn't
COVID. And then that lasted for like maybe 4 days. And then everything went away for the cold, except the cough. And then the cough lasted 2 weeks. And I was like, damn, I'm still coughing. And then I went to the doctor. And the doctor's like, yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. You're probably just recovering and it's just nasal drip. But, you know, I don't know. You could always have walking pneumonia, so that's fun.
Oh.
And then I got blood taken, and I went home, and then I went in for my midterms, and it was the day of my first midterm that I found out that I had walking pneumonia.
You had it. Oh no. I'm sorry.
So
yeah,
that was a great. It's always a great to go to the force and energy equations, thinking about the fact that I have a disease which has really no effective treatment at this time. But anyway, not the first disease I got, and it won't be the last. So I'm out here with my throat full of mucus, my head full of idiocy, and I'm ready to go.
That's just a classic, you know, a classic here. In I don't know, the late event life. I don't think I've ever gotten sick coming back from one, but I've gotten sick traveling. Shout outs to that one fabled July where I went to Florida for a cousin's high school graduation, and I came back with COVID.
Yeah, no, Florida's
not great.
And from then on, goldfish extra cheddars never tasted the same. I'll just say that.
Damn,
that's a rough symptom.
That's a fate worse than death.
You hear about the casualties from COVID? That's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
We lost Edge's taste in goldfish.
Yeah, and that's also when I flipped to being a Pepsi drinker. It just
not
tastes
a
better
coincidence.
Really skewed with it.
It's because I'm diseased.
With his tastes.
That was another symptom, became a Pepsi drinker.
Became a Pepsi drinker. Edge was never the same after that.
That's like something they say really fast in the medicine ads as a possible side effect. May cause you to start drinking Pepsi.
Side effects may include loss of taste of goldfish, craving for Diet Pepsi, and just sweating.
I'm equipped with truly some of the worst fucking dumplings ever conceived right now.
Oh,
but I'm eating them off the like Paris plate. The plate is the Eiffel Tower on it, so
it's all it is. Let's go. Paris is so beautiful.
Not the people though. Hate French people notably, but city's nice.
Anyways,
speaking of French people,
we're going to be talking about
speaking of French people.
Speaking of being off topic, we should get on to commentary.
Yeah, so speaking of French people, if you've ever wanted to commentate in English, We got two expert commentators right here with us, and yeah, commentary is always a topic that's like going on and off in the community. Like, half the people love it, and half the people absolutely fucking hate it. So, you know what? Here's a quick little entry exercise I think we can do. I'm gonna start a poll in the chat. All right. Do you like the state of Tetris commentary? Question mark. Yes.
The state of Tetris commentary. Last time I checked, that's like, I want to say New York area.
Like I typoed no. Just imagine it says no instead of nigh. All right.
No, it's knee, like Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh yeah.
It's knee, like they say in French. That's
Roman spelled a two-letter word. Can you guys just just ignore that, please?
Speaking of slipping up on words, commentary.
It's so true. So true, Questy.
It's hard. Like you will be in chat and ragging on the people in the booth. You get up in the fucking booth.
Yeah, no,
you try to talk for 4 hours about block game. It's not easy.
Like when it comes to commentary, it's I want to say it's both easy and it's also it's both easy and hard because on one hand it is just talking about the match, but on the other hand you can't stammer over your words or you can't like slip up and make a mistake.
Yeah, you have to be yapping 24/7. Dead air is the enemy of commentary.
Dead air kills a match. Like you'll just have like pure silence, and the only thing you'll hear is like the sounds of blocks dropping or like.
Let me tell you,
music.
The Tetris community, for any commentary hate it may get, does not know how good it has it. Because like, if you have heard truly terrible commentary, it hurts.
Oh yeah, no,
it is actually unbearable. So if you are going to complain about commentary, you need to do so with the knowledge that it could be so much worse.
Like, yeah.
Like, there is not a single match of Tetris commentary I have seen which even remotely close to rivals the 4th grade Moncala tournament commentary I had to endure in person at my old school.
Oh, man.
I mean, that was like... that was historic. Like, I felt like so I wasn't in the tournament. I was just an audience member. I still lost. Like, I still came away from that tournament.
You just came away
feeling like I went 0-2. And that's crazy as a viewer.
Yeah. It's surprisingly difficult to like determine what makes good and what makes bad commentary. Because there are some things that might be like good to know that might not be good for commentary as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember getting into a discussion with this. There was a bit of a debate on whether or not people should be using like the more technical terms that we use in Tetris in commentary. And that's a whole situation on like how accessible you want the stream to be, like the tournament to be. Because yeah, sure, because we might understand, that guy did like a King Crimson into C-spin into a fucking like combination of moves, like so on and so forth, that we have a bunch of terms for. Like there's King Crimson, STSD, C-spin, like all of these certain terms, like they make sense to someone like us, but to someone who's new to the scene, it's like it's just a bunch of gibberish.
Yeah, I gotta, like, just to be clear, mid-game DTC spin with the STMB extension is a real phrase I have said on comms. That means nothing. Yeah. I did not say a single English word in that fucking sentence. You show that to someone who doesn't play Tetris, what are you talking about? So you've got to keep in mind, how do you balance talking about the game in a way where you can appeal to people who don't play it avidly and keeping it entertaining for people who do play the game avidly? And that is where we get into the question of event-by-event commentary. How should commentary change based on the style, the prestige, the size, everything to do with an event?
Personally for me, what I like to think about when it comes to event prestige is that the bigger the tournament, I'd argue the easier the comm should be to understand. Because I mean, we've seen the numbers for the bigger tournaments. They get really high, and like a lot of people will just tune in. A lot of people will tune in and probably have no idea how like guideline Tetris works. So, like I think like the best approach to it is to like make the calls a lot more easier to comprehend. There is the sort of compromise. There's the sort of compromise where there's someone saying a term and then like explaining it immediately after.
That becomes exponentially more annoying to listen to for the duration of a tournament.
Yeah,
like there's always a trade-off with everything you do on comms.
Mm-hmm. I've done that before. Obviously I don't do it every single time something new happens. It's like, oh, that's an STSD, that's 2 T-spins in a row. Or like, C-spin, that's a triple double. Like, yeah, no, like at that point it's like there's too much in there. But like, of course, having it like every 5 minutes or so, that's something I did when I started out commentary. And it works to an extent. You need it's such a delicate balance between, oh, how do we make this interesting for new people, and how do we make this interesting for people who know what's going on?
Yeah, talking about the game is always going to be contextual, and it's always going to be tough to sort of keep focusing on the game and not budgeting too much time for making things like intelligible, because there comes a point where if you are talking so much about explaining one moment, by the time you finish doing that, 5 more moments will have passed, and you're not going to be engaging the viewers. And so I've stormed the scene with an inventive new solution. Talking about the game is contextual, don't do it. Say other shit. And that's how we get to what is probably the current largest dichotomy in comms. Should comms involve jokes? Should comms involve banter? Should comms involve things which aren't focused on the gameplay itself? Now, there are some strong feelings about this, and I'm curious to see what y'all two's thoughts are.
I think including banter in commentary is good to an extent. Like there's an extent where it's like it's 2 commentators riffing off of each other and like able to keep the interest high enough. But at the same time, they can't just like continue off of that to the point where it's like not commentary anymore, and it's just them making like jokes back and forth. There are a few instances. There are actually quite a few instances of people starting to like deviate just completely off track from the match itself. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. There are a few instances I remember that I went way off track that I'd like, and it sucks. But when it comes to like, actually, I lost track. Whoops. But yeah, like for the most part, I like to try and keep like any sort of banter like still sort of relevant. It's a little weird to say that. Like it's like you can kind of like make a dig towards how the match is going, and still make it sound pretty casual. Like someone could be misdropping a lot, and like the reaction of just like not like this or like, oh my goodness, what's going on? That's still technically to an extent banter. There's also the instance of people making just like off the cuff puns about playstyles. I'm
abhorrent, unacceptable. Get him out of here.
Yeah, seriously,
the lowest form of humor.
That's so bad.
Goblin.
That actually reminds me. During TWC, I'm trying to remember who it was. Goodness, what match was it? I think it was.
It's hard to remember that event had like 150 sets.
It's so many wild sets. I'm trying to remember.
OSW Westel. Sorry,
it was not. I know it wasn't that. I want to say it was. I want to say it was one of the Fortissim matches. Actually, no. I think it was maybe one of the Westel ones because I remember saying it was like. I remember saying something about like someone was PC looping and then Westel like stopped it and I was just like, he's a Mac user, put the PCs away.
I remember
fire,
that.
Though.
That was that made me laugh so much. That was one of the best things I've ever heard as a producer from a commentator. That shit was fire.
I have to say, I learned later down the line that Westel was actually using a Mac.
That's a win in my book.
I remember someone was like restreaming the TWC, and they reacted to that line like I was saying something genuine.
Oh,
and they were like, "Wait, he's a Mac user?" And then a bunch of people were like, "Yeah, he's a Mac user." I was like, "That was supposed to be a joke. That was supposed to." I wasn't actually like making a. I wasn't like I was just making a stupid PC joke for like the 15th time because. I've said so many of those like PC lines. Mm-hmm. It was just like it was actually kind of it was
Man, to be honest, someone in chat asked if it was the Apple comment. There might have been another Apple joke. Like that might not have been the only Apple joke. Like I can't even remember, but as far as my whole take on the banter thing during commentary, I think you need a good half and half solution. You need to know when to make your jokes and what jokes to make, while also like during the. It's just I feel like there's like a three-way spectrum where you can take this, where it's like whenever like the match is like if you're in a fucking war of infinite downstacking, if you're in a mellow point of the match, that's the best part to like increase your banter, because what you're going to talk about is most likely going to be boring gameplay. And then when you're in like the mid-level play, when you're looking at like counterattacks and whatever stuff like that, that's the stuff that I like seeing people get analytical about, because you can actually analyze the change of flow state in a match. And then what I normally see happen is in like the most insane attacks, like if someone like 40 or 50 spikes, like people just start screaming. And I think that specifically, it's not good commentary. It's not really commentary at all, but it makes good clips because the commentators are because like the viewers can kind of empathize with the commentators' like genuine raw reactions to that moment, rather than just being like Mickelson hit it down the green. Like fucking golf commentary. Like one thing that I just notice as a TO whenever I get feedback on the commentary in my events is like there are some people who love the jokes and there are some people who hate the jokes and want us to fucking poach the PGA Tour for commentators. They want golf commentary. And there's nothing wrong with that. Complete analytical commentary is sweet, but it's just like at the same time it's like
that's to NXT.
Damn, like try out that funny bone or something. Like
my opinion on this is probably evident from my comms enough, but I believe that it's sort of twofold. I believe that commentary shouldn't be a question of talking about the game or being entertaining.
Yeah.
Like if my goal as a viewer is to come to an event and be entertained, I'm not going to be entertained by a 2-hour stand-up routine. I'm also not going to be entertained by someone describing what a TST tower is for 45 minutes. It's about striking the balance, and it's about blending the two together. And my other take on it is, I think the amount of jokes you can get away with is directly correlated to how funny you believe that you are. Not how funny you are.
Yes.
How funny you believe you are.
I like that point.
Like, making jokes is not about being funny. I need to make this so clear. It is about having the consequence and, like, being willing to accept the consequence of making an unfunny joke and rolling with that. If you make a joke and then you like, oh, that wasn't funny, I can't sit with it. that's going to be a truly awful experience for everyone involved, the commentator included. If you make a bad joke and you are like, so this is rare, but if you have a duo who you're like friends enough with where they can say, wow, that was a terrible joke, low-key the best case scenario. Yeah. Like duos who can poke fun at each other is always so fun to watch. But even if not, if you can poke fun at yourself, if you say a line and you're like, if you take a step back, you're like, what the fuck am I talking about? Yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah. I'm entertained. Even if your joke wasn't funny, the recovery is funny. And I think it's just about creating not just jokes, but the environment where being funny is smooth and flows with the overall commentary about the game.
Yeah. One thing that I also think is worth pointing out here is like look at the state of like Tetris competitively right now at this point. Watch the gameplay without audio and then look at me dead in the eyes and answer me this question. Do you really think that someone should be commentating this game analytically and trying to catch every single play in a play-by-play moment? It's not possible. You can't really do it.
See, when I first started commenting for Tetris Effect Connected, it was a lot easier. It was a lot easier to do play-by-plays because the game is slower. It's just like it's a slower paced game, and like even when I'm doing that, I am talking nonstop, and it is a lot to go through. There, like people are still playing relatively quickly. Like in that game, people will go like 150 DPM. It's like it's crazy essentially. Like it's still crazy because like people are still playing fast, people are still getting good plays, and and like it's a lot to go through. And like when Tetrio uncaps that speed and people can play at like 5 PPS, it's just impossible at that point. I'd love to try and do it for a challenge, but like when it comes to actual commentary, there's no way in hell I'm doing that.
Yeah, I find it very funny when people are like, "Oh, how can you stand to calm Taz? How can you stand to calm UC?" Bro, I'm fucking chilling. I can describe I can fully analyze what each player is thinking about and why they're making the decisions that they're making, and keep talking about that in a way which builds the overall environment. You think I know what's going through the mind of Westel as he builds a TST tower on row 16 when his opponent has an entire power stacked well ready? No, I don't know what he's cooking. And when he inevitably wins that round anyway, I still won't know what he was cooking. But I'm talking about it, and I'm talking mostly about the things that the players are doing. Like, as you get higher and higher into levels of play, you will find that color commentary and overall macro commentary tends to fall off in favor of PvP, because play-by-play becomes so overwhelming at a high level because there is just more going on.
Mm-hmm. I find comments like "How can you stand a comm like UC or Taz?" That's a little mean. Like that's not very courteous.
I find it funny. I think it's just like a high horse thing. It's like, yeah, how can you stand to commentate these lonely players?
Disgusting. I see like this. It's also I feel like this is something that happens as well, where someone who's like a viewer or even a player primarily, and they watch back a tournament, they do not understand the difficulty of commentating Tuning Unlimited Tetris. They don't get it. So then they'll watch it back and they'll be like, "Oh, why didn't he point that out?" Of course you're going to know everything that you did in your fucking play. But when someone else is watching you, imagine if you're like commentating, you have to pay attention to 2 4.5 PPS boards, right? You're going to miss parts of that journey. Some shit you're just not going to see. Because if you think about that, that is 9 pieces every second you have to account for. With
there's
a
reason that
one brain
PC became a meme, and it is not just because streamers hate being called out for it. It is because finding every missed PC that happens in a game of Tetris is not going to happen. It's just simply not something you are going to be able to do.
so many people get on their high horse about it, and it's just like, oh, bad commentate. But as we said earlier, just like get in the booth, try it yourself.
Yeah, and I don't want this to come from like a kind of like a defensive perspective either. It's just like when I think about people who are like, our commentary should be like this FPS game or like this whatever, it's just like, this is not an FPS game. You can't commentate. No. You can't commentate this high-speed puzzle game like an FPS game. You just can't do it. There are many things that we can do like the FPS games. Like we've added an analysis desk, which the FPS games have. We're adding production features that FPS games have. But you just can't. You can't change like the dichotomy, the commentary. That doesn't work. Mm-hmm. The game is just so different. You can't just be like, oh, but like the CSGO casters are serious all the time and they can navigate every play. It's a different field. With CSGO, you're like, it's not a 1 versus 1 game.
And you're watching people do things. People can only do things so fast. They can only move their legs to get them places so fast. They can only fire their guns to kill people so fast. Blocks can move as fast as they want. It can appear instantly at any part of the board to make any shape the player can think of.
It's actually very interesting because I was looking at like Counter-Strike gameplay someone recently, and I remember someone was bringing up the whole instance of like meeting times, because like there's only it takes a set amount of time for players to run into each other on the map because they can only move so fast. Mm-hmm. In Tetris, it's just like, here you go. Here's someone going like 160 APM. It literally
tosses you in. And
analyze that.
And like how much you can attack as well as like how mentally like efficient you are at using your pieces. Also just how fast these hands are tapping those keys. Mm-hmm. Like there is a reason why I say tuning unlimited specifically is like, it's so hard to commentate in this idealistic way. I think the closest way that you could commentate in this idealistic way that people bring up, like shooters and whatever, is probably Puyo Puyo Tetris. Like that's probably the closest you can get. On paper, it's the slowest game as far as its tuning limit goes. It's still played right now. Absolutely. In addition, like the whole Puyo part of it is also pretty digestible. This might sound a bit crazy, all right? And I am an acclaimed, rated on average C+ on our Tetris tournaments as a commentator. So take this for what you will.
I'm sorry, they rate commentators?
Was this the Reddit post?
Yeah, it's a Reddit post. I'll pull up this thread after this point.
That's hilarious.
You want me to pull up the thread? I'll pull up the thread. We can
absolutely. Pull up the thread.
Yeah, it's so funny to see that.
But as a C-tier commentator, according to our Tetris tournaments, all right, I, have never gotten over a 5-chain in Puyo, have found it easier to commentate Puyo than Tetrio. This is the truth. Okay. This is just me.
In slower game, easier to commentate.
But if I learn a couple forms and start like a dialogue with a Puyo commentator, I think that I don't do a bad job. I'm obviously not as good as a good Puyo commentator who knows the game, but if I can form a dialogue with someone who's more experienced and kind of like act in a sort of color role where I'm like guiding them through some points to bring up that potentially less experienced viewers could also like be questioning, kind of like the thought of over-explaining, having that balance has worked out pretty well when I've tried to hop in on a Puyo commentary position. So it's not great commentary, but for someone who knows as little about Puyo as I do, I should not be doing as good of a job at commentating the game as I do. But it helps out because of the speed and also just kind of knowing how to carry conversation like that, which I think is another part of it as well. Like a lot of skill in being a Tetris commentator is also just going to be in your skill of talking and socialization. And that's why chemistry is a big thing. Like who you're commentating with definitely matters. And some people mesh well with multiple people. We had some talk in the chat about like Sinewave, for instance. She's like one of the people who I would say in this community have been one of the more adaptable commentators. Like she...
one of my goats.
Absolutely.
Like she can do well with pretty much anyone just by adapting to the conversation, which is a skill that
Agreed.
commentary can have. But a skill that commentary could also have is performing really well in a social situation with a certain set of partners, whether it's one other person, two other people, whatever. Which I'd actually say probably you two I'd fit in that category if I had to analyze it from all like the TOing. Like I feel like you two definitely have stronger commentary partners. Like
Mhm.
you have Badgoblin and Cowbell, you have Davo and Commando. Like these are two famous pairings relatively within the community that have been built up. I just think because the mesh with each other, at least in those specific groups, is so well. And in certain instances, it's because both people do well with each other, or one person just piggybacks off of a versatile person more. The way I'd see it is at least from what I've witnessed, I haven't seen a lot of Badgoblin and Cowbell comms individually as much as I've seen them together. But from what I've seen, Badgoblin and Cowbell are definitely those two people who like fit well in their specific duo. They of course can work with other people, but their strongest is undoubtedly probably with each other, at least at this point in time. It's always going to change. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
so
then,
that's actually really. Oh, sorry, continue.
but yeah, and now I was just gonna say, with what I see with Davo and Commando, I think Commando benefits off of Davo a lot. I think that I think that like when they're just talking, the hype carries off really good. But at base, I also see Davo as a really like adaptable commentator, right? So with how I see that is Davo can work well with pretty much anyone, but when Davo works with Commando, Davo brings out a lot of energy in Commando that makes the set of them as a pair better. And of course, like everyone, and then here's this thing as well, which is a complete. This is a complete different point, but I feel we should talk about this afterwards. It's just like I feel like viewers as well could manage their expectations a bit more still in like what they're watching, because we put on a good veil with our productions, but at the end of the day, this is still like grassroots. These guys are still volunteers. But Bad Goblin, go on. I'm curious about what you're gonna talk about.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting you brought up the idea of like set duos because I think the designated duos comms idea is actually a really interesting one where as people work more together, they're going to do better. Like a lot of the times I was working with Cowbow, I didn't actually pull for Cowbow until TWC. Like prior, I had just ended up calming with Cowbow multiple times and we had worked like pretty well. But the more we calm together, the better we got. And I can still, like, there was lots of people who, I mean, of course, Renge and Modest, my goats, are now gone pretty much. Except Modest showed up one time randomly.
Modest, like still like blinks in and out of the ethereal plane of commentary. Yeah. That's what it is, really.
But like, there's various people who I can also calm with. But as you calm with someone more, it's just like, I don't know. It's a virtuous cycle. You get better at calming with them, which makes you want to calm with them more, which makes you better at calming with them, and so on and so forth. So the idea of designated duos can be really beneficial for different styles of commentary. And I think, Edge, part of what you were saying about what makes myself and Cabao like a good duo is that we have largely the same style of commentary. We sort of both strike that balance of being entertaining and talking about the game in a way where I think you have like two half parts for each things being added together, so then you end up with a good balance overall as well. But if you look at something like in IFT, I've done some calming with Quick and Smart, and my calming there was very different than my calming in, say, TWC. I was more serious, and I was talking about the game more, and I was sort of more focused on trying to develop this analytical approach. I'm not saying that is better or that is worse, but it's just a sort of difference that arises because I'm calming with someone different. Different commentator pairs create different environments and styles of commentary, even if an individual is going to favor one sort of style. So it's good to have duos and it's good to mix it up. I don't think that it's necessarily good to have one or the other.
Plus, I was saying about this, right? Like we were talking about adaptation as well. That was like kind of adaptation your scenario, because I think everyone here could say if you've listened to Quick's commentary, Quick is a very analytical guy. It makes sense. He's literally into data science. Like that's just like his thing. I think he's now in like a master's program for it. Made some tweets about that, and he's stepping back from commentary a bit. So quick, if you're listening to this, just on behalf of everyone here, congratulations. That's super cool.
Real.
Shout outs to Data. And yeah, hopefully you're doing well. But yeah, one thing just there is like that's just another key of adaptation. It's just like kind of figuring out how each person's like interests balance and making the best hybridization of the two. Like maybe Quick getting a bit more energetic while you're pulling a bit more on analytics, contributing to those discussions can really make for a good kind of thing. And yeah, asking about newcomer commentators, I think we did want to talk about like personalities. It could be people or styles. One thing that's kind of weird about one thing that I think is just personally weird about name dropping newcomers is like I have this thing about like unwanted advice. You know what I mean? It's just like I kind of don't want to get into like accidentally critiquing someone who did not ask for it. Do you know what I mean?
That's true.
So I kind of just don't want to do that, especially like here on this podcast. But I know one thing that we are going to bring up later in the episode, so stay tuned for this, is we do want to talk about some like tips and tricks for breaking into commentary. If you've been interested and you want to do it,
Or if you
just some tips for that, places to look, how to get better is something that we're going to be covering a bit later on in the episode.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting to, first of all, for critique of commentary, I think people in the Tetris community do most of the time a pretty shit job of discerning between commentary they don't like and commentary that is bad.
Mm-hmm.
There is plenty of Tetris commentary that I personally, as a viewer, will not find engaging or not enjoy as much. That does not mean that is bad comment. Some of the best commentators out there have a commentary style that just doesn't necessarily jive with me that much. That doesn't make them bad commentators. That doesn't make me a bad viewer. That just means that those two things don't line up. You liking ice cream isn't going to mean that you like every flavor of ice cream. You shouldn't expect to like every flavor of ice cream, and it doesn't make liking a flavor of ice cream or not liking a flavor of ice cream an indicator as to whether that flavor is objectively good or bad. To get into actual critique of commentary, a lot of it comes down to a few things. One, it comes down to synergy or lack thereof. If there are commentators who don't have as much synergy, then it's just not going to be as good of a commentator experience overall, even if individually they're strong commentators. That is fair, and in some ways falls victim to the fact that Tetris is a very grassroots scene.
Yeah.
Commentators are volunteers. They're being asked, not necessarily always with a lot of notice. There aren't always that many commentators around. A lot of the times, these duos aren't planned out like they were for things like TWC. They were on the fly. They were who's available at what time. So while, yes, I can understand that worsens the commentary experience, it's not necessarily something that can be solved super easily. But, of course, the more commentators that are in the scene, the less of a problem this becomes. As you have more people available, then you're going to have more people working with each other more. So
yeah,
it's interesting to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of like good commentary dudes that happen by circumstance. Like the reason why I really like working with Davo and Pants is because like I first started commentating with them. Well, granted, at a LAN, but still, it was by pure circumstance, and I was just like who happened to be available at the time. You know, like if you want improvement, then I guess like be the change you want to see in the world.
That is true as well, because like a lot of, and this is just a problem with people in general. It's not just in our community. It's not just about commentary, but people love to talk shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then right when you ask them to give some real constructive feedback,
they do.
I don't say a damn word.
People really just can't get from why you are bad to how you can improve. It's just not a leap they can make.
Improvement? How dare you?
It's just like I feel like some people just don't care to see things improve and like to be haters, but some people like to see things improve. And shout out to those people. Speaking of wanting to see things improve, we've had 23 votes on this poll here. 65% saying yes, they like the state of Tetris commentary currently. 35% are saying no. So, that's pretty interesting. And now there's something else I want to do. Just rather than a traditional Q&A of sorts, at least for the start, I'm going to start a Q&A here in the YouTube chat, but I'm going to ask this here. If you voted no on the poll, what currently is your biggest gripe with Tetris commentary? Because I'm just curious to see what you guys think could improve, and then we can kind of talk about that and give our perspectives on it in a little bit. So we'll start that, and then we'll have more commentary Q&A later on the stream.
Yeah.
But if you want to list something here about what would be your biggest gripe with Tetris commentary, and just as well something to say it, when we're mentioning it on stream, I will keep names anonymous, just in case.
Yeah.
Because I don't want anyone to feel like they're being called out. It's just this is a really good opportunity to get opinions. And I'm very curious to see what you all think. And while you're here as well, if you've been enjoying the discussion and enjoying the VODcast so far, it'll probably be the only time I ask until the end. If you'd like to go down, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. We're doing the show weekly. We have OSW on next week for an interview, so it's going to be super exciting. And then we have a lot of other topics coming up soon. Then hit 1,000 subs tonight. I'm playing that Love Live game that's going to get deactivated in like a fucking month on stream. So if you want to see that, sub below.
It is crazy that they announced when the game drops and when the game drops in the same fucking tweet. Like, that's crazy.
Yes, it is. I just can't stop talking about it or thinking about it.
It's so wild. There's so many people I know who know about the situation and know nothing about Love Live. It's that crazy.
That's just like, honestly, I stand by this though. They are real as fuck for that. It would be so much more frustrating to just get the like initial launch announcement and find out later that it's closing in a month. So like, I feel like it's obviously still stupid that this is happening at all, but given the choice of knowing or not knowing about the fact that it's going to get shut down, I'd rather be the knower.
Yeah,
this is the second time we've gone on this.
Listen, all right, it's a crazy topic, you know what I mean?
It's so crazy, I know, but it's like
episode 8 will be just about the fact that they made this tweet exclusively for an hour and a half.
The podcast episode 8 analyzing.
Episode 8, we will all be playing and reviewing Love Live School Idol Festival 2, and
we'll talk about that game,
this whole situation.
We'll talk about that game. We'll talk about the fake PPT update tweet that they made. We'll talk about the tweet from the who was it? It was like TTC or some other thing where they like accidentally like re-upped non-guideline content. I don't even remember what the specific tweet was. Maybe it was the podcast that they were gonna start. They're gonna start a Tetris podcast.
Yeah, they announced it, and they said it was coming out, I believe, in the fall of 2023, and then it never happened.
Hey, I'll put this out here. Tetris Company, if you want a podcast, we're already here, man.
We're here.
That's what I'm saying.
Just share it, you know?
I'll put a little, like, 96p Tetris logo, like, right down here below my
I can be so much less slanderous for the right price. That's all I'm saying.
It is true.
But yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, VODcast already for sale, second week of operating.
Yo, sponsor us. Anyone. The weirder the brand, the better. It's actually just directly correlates to how funny it will be as a sponsor. If you believe that your sponsorship wouldn't make sense because of what your brand is, you're wrong. Do it anyway. We need the Miku Domino's partnership.
I will say, as a commentator, I am good at ad reads. I had to do ad reads for like TCWC. I had to do them for like Square One. Like, I know how to do ad reads.
Listen, wasn't TCWC sponsored by like a fucking like a gold pawning company?
Yeah, it was. Or something.
I stand by that we need big oil on the side of Tetris. We need like oil barons in the community.
It's so funny because like I still have the coin from the it's not a frame. I still have the Tetris theme coin.
Dude, Square One brought to you by fucking Marathon Oil. Go to your local Marathon
Slick gameplay
gas
here.
station.
Speaking of slick, Marathon
Shell presents the Tetris World Championship.
Oh, all right. We're getting a little bit off the walls. So
Yeah,
I'm just looking through our list because we wrote a list of things that we wanted to cover. Here's an interesting one, and we kind of already talked about this, but to tie the knot, how is Tetris commentary similar or different to other esports? This one's pretty interesting. So when I think of this, and I'm not like a big esports commentary enthusiast, right? But when I'm like I'm more of like a back-end logistics viewer. So the only basis that I have it to compare with is like Smash, which is saying something. And one thing I know is I feel like Smash faces a similar conundrum that we do, but for like different reasons. Like there are a lot of Smash tournaments that introduce banter into the commentary, but again, if you're like watching as a first time viewer, a lot of the dialogue includes like technical terms, you know what I mean? Like a lot of it includes like more technical terms, like just like even the names of moves. Like if you're watching Smash for the first time, you're not gonna have any idea what an up tilt is, dude. Like it took me like 2 fucking tournaments to learn what they meant when they were saying that people were up tilting and shit like that. Obviously, also just to say it, I don't play Smash. I just watch the tournaments because our scene's pretty similar to theirs in terms of
Which Smash? Ult or Melee?
Both, but more. I've watched more Ultimate, but I look
Okay,
more.
I'm also on
I
the
look
side of
more
that.
at Melee's logistics, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that Tetris commentary is actually remarkably, well, a good chunk of it is remarkably similar to most Ultimate commentary. Just in terms of like they've got the sort of banter box idea where like Smash commentators, there's some wild clips of what Smash commentators be saying, bro. Sometimes they just be saying shit. And shout out to my man EE is absolutely insane in the booth, and I love him. And I think that is something to strive for. Just the idea of like being able to have fun watching the game and talking about the game rather than just playing it is always it's been appealing to me, and it's part of the reason my commentary is the way it is. And that's like something I believe just helps create a fun community, and I think a fun community should be a goal.
Yeah, like I want to say that like everyone who starts out everyone in the Tetris scene who starts out commentary does it out of a love for the game. Like because
for sure.
Our scene is grassroots. Commentators very rarely get paid, if at all. Like there's not a lot in it for a Tetris commentator besides, you know, being able to watch and commentate such like intense matches. Obviously, like our goal as a community is to probably build that up and make it so like we can have huge tournament scenes with this with like the level of production to the point where you can pay the commentators.
They're not being paid?
I'm okay. Like, I don't want to I don't want to get into it all that much because but like from time to time there are instances where commentators will get paid. But for the most part, it is just like, oh, you tune into a tournament, you just commentate the match, and then you just call it a night.
I've yet to hit any of those supposed pay moments yet, but I got the funny award, so we're chilling.
I got $20 from you, so I'm counting that.
That's true. I fucking paid him. I'm contributing to this shit.
Yeah,
I made you as much as the orgs have.
I think the consensus right now in terms of like paying commentators is if it is sponsored by Okay, I have to be very careful with the words that come out of this mouth right here. If the event has relation to the Tetris company, usually they have the budget to pay the commentators, okay? Because at first I was going to say developer. That would have been wrong.
Yeah.
Okay? So if the event has had some relation with the Tetris company, then there's usually a commentary pay budget.
Goblin,
And by
you have
that
quite a bit
I'm
of stuff here.
talking about exactly 2 tournaments, of which in our
Exactly.
specific community there's only 1. So
Yeah, most of the time sponsors just be putting stuff in the prize pool, which is like fair enough, but like, damn.
Dang, that ain't
Guys,
going,
I
that ain't
have
going
a-
to the people.
this is a whole topic for another day for me.
Mhm.
I think that our prizing's inflated compared to our budget for other logistics, but that's a topic for another VODcast. Just planting that seed.
I remember you mentioning that during the Edge of Winter Marathon. Like,
Yeah, I did.
I think I asked about your hottest take, and then
Yes, I think that's my hottest take in the community is that the players get paid too much right now compared to everyone else.
guess you'll have to stay tuned to the podcast to hear him explain
I was
that.
going to say that's really interesting, and I won't talk about it because if I do talk about it, I'm not going to not talk about it.
Yeah, so I'm just planting that seed. I already said it before, which is why I'm just repeating something I already said. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there's probably gonna be some interest in hearing more about that one. So yeah, not sure how far into the future, but future episode of the VODcast, I'll probably be talking about that or just like general community hot takes. I think that'd be a fun episode. 'Cause,
That's ooh, that's
I
gonna
have
be
some
spicy.
very interesting Tetris community
Oh
takes.
goodness!
Oh yeah, let us know if you like that episode.
I'm gonna get caught in the crossfire between these two because I don't think I have that many hot takes.
You're the rational opinion we use as a baseline.
Commando is the baseline, and then you have like the 2 extremes on either side of him, like on the layout.
Yeah,
We planned for this.
I am truly the radical left of the Tetris community takes. I don't know what that means, but I stand by it.
I don't want to be the radical right.
Congratulations on your new
we gotta
conservative
agree.
viewpoint.
I don't want this, man.
You can be the radical up, not to be confused with notable Twitch streamer Radical Cup.
Not to be confused with a tournament named.
we got the radical plonk versus the radical stride. Pick your
Oh
side?
my god.
Who do we think in the community is the infinite downstacker of takes?
Uh,
What's that mean?
I-
What does
here,
that even mean?
I know exactly who. I'm gonna mute myself. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself. So only you guys can hear it. I want you to tell me if you agree. I'm also going to cover my mouth so no one can figure out who I'm saying. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Let me know if you guys agree with that.
No, he's cooking. He's fucking cooking, actually. No, he's real as hell for that.
He
It's
is-
true.
So true, Questy.
I have so... God. Oh, wait, I can't say that story. That will immediately make it clear. Never mind.
Oh
Listen,
my
stay
god.
tuned
I
for
agree with
future
whatever he
episodes.
said.
Well, I'm
I agree with
talking
this
shit,
statement,
I'm gonna
however, we're not name dropping, so that will forever be
Listen,
that'll
alright.
forever be a mystery.
Maybe y'all just gotta sub and keep watching the VODcast if you want to learn who I just called the infinite downstacker of takes in this community. And that,
Alright.
ladies and gentlemen, is the truth.
Do we
That's
have any
crazy that
people
you were
who
so
have, like,
ready with
mentioned?
that.
Do we have any people who mentioned gripes with commentary?
Yeah, let's check the questions. No one has submitted yet, so if you want to submit some commentary gripes that you have that we will anonymously address and kind of talk about, give some opinions on them, be sure to go into the Q&A over in the YouTube chat and submit some stuff, and we will talk about
I guess while we wait, do we want to use this time to talk about people who want to get into commentary?
I think that's a good
Or-
idea.
Like,
I think that's a great idea.
All right. I guess I'll start with a tip that I kind of did when I first started commentary, and that is just open up like a match, like a recorded match on YouTube. You could have one with commentary, you could have one with not, but if it does have commentary, like mute it or something. But basically, just like practice casting over that. That's how I started. I just started by like pulling up like a Dormy video where he'd be playing. Actually, one of the biggest ones was I watched the Dormy versus Uyashoda match that happened a few years ago, where it was an hour long first to 10. It was an hour long first to 10 match, and I think it went to literally the was it match game 19. The score was, I think, 9-10. But yeah, I practiced basically everything fundamental when it comes to commentary. Starting off just by watching a match. It's just okay, this is what Dormy is doing. Oh, this is what Uyashoda is doing. And it's oh, okay, that's a zone. That's a good play. Oh, Uyashoda has to do some down stacking. It helps you get into the flow of getting commentary done. And granted, it is more solo comms, but I think once you can get started with solo comms, you'll start to be able to work alongside someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see it in the way where if you're trying to build the fundamental skill, you first before you want to talk about the game with someone else, you need to be able to talk about the game in your own right in a way, so you know how to contribute to an ongoing conversation. And here's something I would say as well that I think would be beneficial, at least from my POV. Let me know what you guys think about this. Is if early enough in your solo practice, if you have a friend who's interested in helping you or whatever, I'd say just get a learning partner and try to see how you guys work out as a pair.
That's interesting.
Yeah, having practice duos is great, and my biggest thing is probably before I was a commentator, I was a commentary listener. I'd be watching tournaments, I'd be listening to stuff, and if you have listened to Renge commentary and you've listened to my commentary, you realize that I am budget Renge, and it is so convenient that Renge stopped commentating in the same year that I started commentating, because otherwise there's just no shot I would a Stacky award, because I'm just Renge light. But basically,
people like Renge light, and that's how you won.
I guess so. People need all the Renge they can get, myself included. Renge, please stop streaming at 2 a.m. Anyway, you should try to find commentators who you like the style of. You should find out what you are good at already. What do you tend to talk about with your friends as you're watching or playing matches? If you're just in a VC with your friends playing a TL set, what are you going to be doing? Are you going to be talking about how you made or messed up a T-spin? Or are you going to be cracking jokes? That can be an indicator of what you're good at on commentary. If there are streamers that you like, are they streamers who are good for their high gameplay, or are they streamers who are more entertaining? You can use things that you already do listen to and enjoy to figure out what your commentary style is going to be, because it is much harder to build your commentary skills in a style that you're not good at than to naturally progress from doing things and listening to things you already do to commentating.
Yeah, I'm not the best when it comes to that advice, because my inspiration came from classic Tetris. Most of the reason I started commentating was because I watched classic Tetris matches, and I was just this seems fun to do, and I watched a lot of classic Tetris. But then I realized, I play a lot more guideline. I think going into that, I don't really think about competitive guideline all that much. And then I looked into it. It's there are people around, but there's not a whole lot. So I was just maybe this is my chance to try it. And I was in a voice call in the Enhanced Discord, and I was just commentating random people's matches. And I think Moose apparently showed up to one of those. And then he was just hey, you want to do square one? And I was like, okay. Like I'm not the best when it comes to advice starting out.
I think a big thing is if you are not a top player, which, believe it or not, most people aren't, then you are going to go in not being as familiar as you probably think you are with how top player gameplay works. You shouldn't try to punch above your weight class. Don't try to catch every little thing that's happening, both because that doesn't set realistic expectations for you, but also because that doesn't make for good commentary. Good commentary isn't I'm trying to see every little thing that happens. It's I am using what is going on screen to tell a story, to build the overall feel of what is going on in the game. And I'm pointing out some things, but I'm pointing them out to build to a larger point. If I'm talking about someone's back-to-back, I can say their back-to-back number out loud as many times as I want. That's not going to be as useful as me saying, for example, oh, this player tends to preserve back-to-back when they could downstack. Or inversely, this player doesn't seem to hold onto their back-to-back chains very long. So X. So you should try to just continue your story. If you're commentating, doing play-by-play is great, but play-by-play is also the easier in terms of sort of knowledge. Like, there's sort of two ways where commentary is hard. Commentary is hard in terms of just the mechanical ability to keep up with what is going on screen. Because it's not just, oh, this player did this. It's this player could have done this. This player chose not to do this. And what that requires is you, as a commentator, looking at the board and seeing if and how they could have done something that they didn't do. And that is very, very hard mechanically. That's just being fast enough to see that stuff. But there is also difficulty in terms of trying to be intelligent with what you're saying and trying to build an overall narrative. And that is hard more, I don't know, not really philosophically, just like it's harder in a larger context. And I think that is the more important skill to build. If you're trying to be an entertainment commentator, alternatively, you don't need to review your VODs as much. You need to get first of all, you need to get the hard truths from your friends as to if you're funny or not. Because let me tell you, it ain't all of you. And more you think that you're funny than those of you who are actually funny. And I'm not naming names, but Badgoblin is not funny. Let me tell you. Stop letting his ass in the booth. But anyway, if you are funny,
people like him enough.
Poor Badgoblin guy. He's catching so much heat on this show.
Bro, he won Comment of the Year. It's like unbelievable.
And he stole that shit. That was not deserved. Insane that he won that. Unironically,
I could say. Nah,
robbed. No, you were robbed. I 100% believe it. I'm an avid believer.
You think I was robbed?
I think that at least 3 people out of the other options got their Comment of the Year robbed.
I'm being 100% honest. When I saw the nominees for Commentator of the Year, I was like, I'm toast.
Okay, well, I also thought that. So clearly, there's a fucking common thread here.
Put me next to the bacon and eggs. I'm fucking toast. There's no way I'm getting it.
That's a good line, though.
Like full English breakfast, good hearty meal. Like, nah, I'm done. There's no way. And I was right.
Listen, if it makes you feel any better, I'm a big Toast fan. So let's put that out there.
That's true.
Toast. I heard that guy used to play Among Us. Not anymore, though.
Damn.
Not anymore.
Damn.
Podcast.
Anyway, speaking of toast, let's heat up some of these takes, shall we? Do we have more avid commentary haters and their questions?
I think the haters are scared. Not a damn thing in this Q&A.
What did we say? You're so good at saying you don't like commentary. You're not as good at pointing out why.
Again, some people may have specific things on their mind, but
I was gonna say it nicely and say, like, it's understandable to dislike the state of commentary, but, like, at least give an explanation as to why, because
it'd be interesting to hear. But now we're generalizing.
It'd not only be interesting to hear, it would also help as, like, two big commentators in the scene. It would really help, like,
true.
Understand
if you hate my unironically, if you hate my commentary, please come talk to me.
Yep.
If you hate my commentary,
I won't change anything, but I will be entertained. No, I'm kidding.
If you hate my commentary,
that's the biggest commentary advice we can give, I think, collectively. It's just always be improving. There is no peak of commentary.
But actually, another tip I want to say regarding commentary is, don't swear. Actually, just don't believe it or not, using such colorful language makes commentary, in my opinion, a little bland.
See it.
See, that's interesting to me. I wonder if that's true writ large, or if that's true based on the commentary style. Because if someone says like a curse word and it fits into their normal language, it's not going to really change it one way or another to me. But if someone is doing it for the sake of it, or if they're doing it to try to play up the commentary, I would absolutely agree that it detract. There's also the separate question of like, is this good for the events environment? But like, yeah. I don't know. It's interesting to think about just how your choice of language affects your commentary.
Yeah. Typically, I like to avoid swearing just because I think it would be good to have a tournament or like a whole event be accessible to like everyone, and not everyone is going to be okay with people swearing like sailors. I think, because I think a lot of the times when it comes to calls or when it comes to like stating something, I think it's a lot better if you try to avoid using swears, because swears can already be used for like emphasis on something. But
yes, that's what I believe. I think it shouldn't you shouldn't
like if you're able to emphasize the impact of something without using the words, I think that ends up being a lot better. And honestly, I think that's part of the reason why there are like so many of those like clever one-liners. It's like I don't know how to put it into words, but I'll occasionally maybe sometimes swear on comms, but it'll be like damn, which is let's be honest, is a pretty tame swear word in comparison to everything else, right? I don't think that's disagreeable.
I would agree. I think it's also interesting to, so this is a topic we hadn't touched on all that much. Preparation of bits. Coming in prepped to comms.
Oh yeah,
I've only done this once, but I'm low-key, if you want to be an entertainment commentator, I'm a believer in the prep bits, but you have to be willing to kill your darlings. You can't force the bit into commentary. Yeah. It's got to just be able to happen.
Honestly, whenever it comes to making like a bit during commentary, I try to like look at the play styles of the players in the match, and it's just like, is there something funny I can make with like the moves that they're doing or whatever? And that's where I came up with all of the PC jokes. It's just like, oh yeah, like so many so many PCs in this match, I think I walked into a Best Buy or something. Like, you know, it's like that kind of, like those kinds of lines, like they come up on the fly, but like if you can think about in the middle, like if you can think about it ahead of time and then just like bring it out when the player like does that move again, or like that, like some sort of playstyle approach, then it works really well.
And hey, this is the ugly truth that many of you may not want to hear. A lot of the commentary one-liners are just puns.
It is.
A lot of them are puns.
It is 100%.
And as much as you may want to say that you hate puns, if you liked Wumbo with those ties, that was a fucking pun.
You cannot say you do not like puns and then like a line like that, you know?
Like, wordplay is unironically a very, very useful tool. It's just very entertaining to listen to. And I think that is not necessarily an underused tool in commentary, but just something to think about if you want to go for that style of comms.
It's always great whenever you can make a pun during commentary and then hear Edge in your ear saying something like "God fucking damn it."
Yeah, for real. You know, being in the booth while production is audible in the booth is awesome. Awesome experience.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
so
love
real.
doing that.
Shout outs to Guffy Fish at Game Arena
Oh
Columbus
my
though, for
god,
real.
Guffy Fish. Oh my god,
Uh,
that dude was so cool to talk to. But
he was so
I was having good conversations with him, and then who dropped the fucking DM screenshot from Guffy Fish on Twitter?
me. That was
you?
that was me.
Can you send this over? Can we pull this up on the jumbotron here?
Yeah, hold on. I need to go back on Twitter. Like, it's still there. That's the only conversation I've had with him on Twitter.
I've talked to him on Twitter. He did follow me though, and he was kind of real for that.
Like, if you get a chance to go to Columbus, like, that's a perfect opportunity to like do commentary, because there are not enough commentators who go to WPLC. Let me say, I have to scroll through. Okay, here it is. Okay, I have to open. Okay, I forgot Twitter is like dumb to navigate.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through your Twitter. I found your screenshot of the Queen
Here.
bang. I scrolled past it.
It was. Oh my
Speaking of
god!
commentary, let's make some social commentary. So the Queen's death, am I right?
Like, I'm not gonna. I didn't comment on the Queen's death itself. I just commented on the immediate reaction I saw when I saw that on Twitter, because it was like on the top. It was just like Queen Elizabeth has died, and the first thing that says under it is "she's dead" in all caps.
Oh yeah,
It's still insane to me that Schlatt had a prepared tweet of him on an airplane doing a thumbs up saying just got back from Europe for that specific event. Like, that's a level of commitment to the bit that I both admire and fear.
Here's from Guffy Fish 2 years. It's almost 2 years ago. Yeah, he had to send me a Twitter DM apologizing for moaning in my
we'll read
ears.
this. I'll read this out loud for any potential audio-only listeners. Hey, I wanted to apologize for moaning into the mic, LMAO. Although I still think it was funny, it was also hella unprofessional of me. Commando accepted the request. It's absolutely hilarious. Don't worry.
And he was real for that.
It was absolutely hilarious. And the funny thing is, nobody could hear it except for us. It was me and Davo in the booth, and nobody else could hear it.
I still remember dropping some fucking line during like one of the first PK tournaments I appeared on for commentary, and just dropping some line and just hearing like faintly in my ear edge just, bro. And nothing else, and never has it been harder to not burst out laughing on COD as after I said that, and I heard that and nothing else, and I don't think my co even heard it because they were talking when he said that. So I was just like sitting there trying my absolute hardest not to crack up after that, but that was hilarious.
I feel like, at least from what I hear, like, it seems like, I'm not trying to take too much credit, right? But it seems like I'm the most entertaining producer that these commentators deal with, specifically because whenever they drop a joke, I normally always give a very deserving reply.
He's engaged. Bro's locked in.
Whether it's a bro, or I'm like laughing, or I'll drop like a godzam, or like stifle laughter, like, I don't know. I just like, I like dropping like a word or two, so they just know that I'm listening in. As I'll be honest with you guys, when I'm producing tournaments, I don't pay attention to the gameplay a lot. I like listening to the commentary while I'm like enjoying my solace scrolling through Twitter on my cell phone.
Which, by the way, if you have never done that, listening to commentary, especially like entertainment commentary, without looking at the gameplay is a surreal experience. The lines come out of fucking nowhere if you can't see the gameplay. It's crazy.
Also, by the way, Edge, if you want to show the clip for context,
I was rewatching like a VOD of my TWC gameplay as I did like work, and I was hearing myself doing comms, like review and see what I could do better, and I couldn't see the game, so I would just hear I just hear fucking trying to take the OSW out of nowhere as I'm like doing like math, and I'm like, what?
It is kind of it is a fever dream, because when I'm like the weirdest thing for me is like whenever I'm doing like the YouTube uploads of tournaments, I'm just like scrolling through the match to try and like find a place to cut it off or whatever. I'm like not watching a gameplay, but sometimes I'll like be skipping forward, I'll be pressing the right arrow or whatever, and I'll listen to a few seconds of it. And some lines out of context are just something, dude. Maybe you should get like an out of context commentary clip compilation one time.
I would love
like,
that. That makes for a banger skit idea.
Maybe for, like,
actually, Loki, that should be the next Stacky Awards Commentator of the Year intro video.
If you can manage to get all the commentators out of context, that'd be very surprising.
It's far from impossible.
The best chat message I ever stole for commentary. Deep Forium Thought saying, "Bro is Nintendo with the DS." The best chat message I ever stole and said verbatim.
Deep's actually pretty funny. Like, Deep's actually very funny. Just a reminder that the YouTube chat Q&A feature's up. You want to ask any questions? I don't know if it's, like, broken for some people or y'all are just really content with the content that we're providing, but I remember last time during TWC, we got, like, a pretty penny of questions, but here, haven't asked any, which, I mean, definitely fine, but it's just, like, if you guys are curious, you have a question that you want us to answer as a kind of, in their bum era TO into like shining commentators, just Stacky-nominated.
You calling yourself in your bum era while I'm here is crazy. Like I don't have, like my highest high is like about on par with your lowest low. I'll be honest.
Is it now?
You, Mr. Commentator,
I am a firm believer
Badgoblin, truth be told, ability. I don't think you know my lowest low, Badgoblin. I don't think you
don't know.
Maybe I don't, but I don't think I'm in my golden age.
I'll just tell you, for anyone who doesn't know my history, before I started running Tetris tournaments, I was I think Commando knows. This is a story that I like to tell. It's not on topic with this at all, but all right, I used to be a Roblox streamer. Okay, before all of this, before the Edge Media Empire, right? I was a Roblox streamer. To this day, my old Twitch account where I stream Roblox still has over 600 more followers than my main Twitch.
Hey, Edge, when's that Roblox door stream happening, Edge?
Oh yeah, I gotta schedule that soon with my doors.
When's that Roblox door stream happening?
I will keep you looped in if you want to play. But yeah, I used to be a Roblox streamer. I played a game called Island Royale. I played a Fortnite Roblox clone. On Roblox for money. I only did it because I always caught huge raids, and I actually had like for like a 14-year-old being live on Twitch, I had a good amount of subs. So I was just coasting, and I got an offer. I got an offer from this like British guy who was like a contract security coordinator. He like ran his own business, I think. Who wanted to sponsor an Edge Island Royale tournament. And that was my breakthrough into TOing. The best part, we got scammed. He backed out of the deal. So it's just like the perfect textbook kind of start to a TOing career, and the rest is fucking history.
Scamming a Roblox streamer is like the other end of like you in the scam range. You have like one end is preying on the elderly, and the other end is scamming Roblox streamers 13,
14-year-olds.
Yeah, that's the opposite side of the spectrum. But hey, you say I'm in my golden age. In school today, I presented for Culture Wars, which is a history discussion-based class. I presented a joint rap midterm project from myself and two others about the progression of rap and old school versus new school rap and the media's response. And I had to stand there and play that 6.5-minute cipher of fucking garbage in front of 20 of my closest friends. So if this is my golden age, I really hate to see where I'm going from here.
Listen, I'll just say here, I'll revise my statement. You might be entering your golden age within the Tetris community. Okay, let's just
see. At least you guys have your golden moments, and I just have mid. So
right, you're that enhanced moderator getting flown out to Portland commentator, dude. You have it pretty all right.
And it wasn't enough, apparently.
Dude, one day, all right. I think that like the Stacky should be the serious award show, and since our podcast is still going to be running, because even despite having our interview be canceled, we still pulled the topic out of our ass and literally workshopped in 30 minutes. Shout outs to you guys for writing the notes today.
I mean, it's kind of obvious as commentators that we talk about commentary at some point.
Yeah, I think it was a strong
So
topic, but it's like maybe you should have a segment. Maybe you should have a segment called like the VODs, where like we just give our own like pick, just like our own picks to like our favorite moments online throughout the year. You know,
that's where like Misdropper of the Year, Banger Tweet of the Year, like that's where those kinds of awards go, and then Stackies become real things, like actual.
And instead of like
we have the People's Choice Awards, and it's just we're the people, us three.
Yes. And like
3 nominees
win this award.
So at so like there's 3 nominees, so there's at some point a chance for a 3-way tie.
Yeah. I think that's deserved. I think everyone deserved it equally out of the nominees of us.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree there. But yeah,
the winner's still gonna be Wrench out of nowhere,
Omega when that happens.
Okay, here we go. Amber Doodle giving us our first commentary question. What would you guys say is the line for player or for okay? I fucked that one up. Holy shit. That's why I'm not the commentator. What would you say is the line for pointing out players' mistakes and making jokes about them? Because I feel like I always do it a little too much.
That's actually no, that is a good question.
I think that the line is just before where you believe the line to be.
Mm-hmm.
If you believe that the line should be at what you wouldn't want to have said about you on stream, put it before that just to be safe.
Yeah.
If you think the line is only making a little bit of a remark about it, don't make any at all, just to be safe. Whatever you think is the line, put it a little before that. That said, if you do want to make those remarks, and I think they can be fine in context, the only requirement is that you make it clear that it's in good fun and not hurtful to the player. Because the last thing you as a player want to do is come away from almost always a very difficult set and find out that you're basically being ragged on by commentary for the whole time.
Yeah.
That's never a good feeling. But if the player is fine with it, generally it is fine. So your standard should be, what will this player be fine with? That can also just be if you know the player more personally, you'll have a better sense. But just in general, better safe than sorry.
Yeah. I personally just try to not show bias and try to not show this person's not doing too hot now, are they? And then joke around about that, because I 100% understand tilt when it comes to matches. It's basically make it a joke. Don't be serious when mentioning mistakes, because it's actually pretty easy to point. I think a lot of people will be able to know that you're just pointing out a misdrop or a mistake, and not actually making fun of them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when I call out a misdrop, I'll just be you'll hear distress in my voice, because it's just that sucks to happen. It's genuinely not a great feeling.
It's just that, because also I think there's also a fine line between if you're pointing out a mistake because there's a place in the narrative to mention that, right? Mm-hmm. Where you kind of have to bring it up because it's within the flow of your conversation, versus just pointing something out that doesn't really matter in a disrespectful manner. You guys know what I'm saying? Sometimes when you're mentioning something, sometimes there will be deaths where mistakes will cause them. It's going to be hard to kind of completely ignore those. You kind of just have to bring it up, oh, misdrop caused this death, but hopefully they're going to make it back in the next one, stuff like that, versus actively trying to seek out and point out every mistake that a player's making in their gameplay, because at that point it's just kind of malicious, especially if you're doing it without terms of a bit in the context, you know what I mean? So there are some points where you can't avoid mentioning mistakes and where you kind of have to mention them, but I think it's also necessary to learn when you're watching a set, did I really need to bring up this mistake? Did I really need to I really need to make light of this when it was just like kind of a minor detail, because at that point that's really where I think it kind of goes into the lines of like ragging on a player versus just contextualizing, giving context to the set that you're
Yes.
voicing.
Yeah.
That said, of course, as with all aspects of commentary, the event is everything. If the point of the event is a joke and you are messing around in the booth about players who know that you're messing around and you're, if everyone's in on it, absolutely you can write. Like there was a whole long like fight nights and stuff like that have whole long bits of like literally just mocking a player for like half an hour. And that's fine and that's hilarious because it's understood within the event. But if the event isn't asking you for that, most cases that should mean you shouldn't provide it.
Yeah. Like there are a lot of players that I know like personally, and like even like just showing like you can don't show bias basically. Like even when I know a player and like I can make fun of them in like a voice call or something, it's like like there's a difference between like being in a voice call with them and like ragging on them in like a casual match versus them playing in a tournament trying to break through like the losers bracket gauntlet and then like messing up at some point. Like that it's very context heavy.
Yeah.
As Badgoblin said. Like you need to keep the context of like the event in mind. You need to keep the context of like how you would feel about it personally, and it's just and like whether or not it's actually important to mention.
Yeah, there's not a blanket solution.
Yeah, there's no clear-cut solution, but like it is kind of like just keep like there are points where like you definitely need to mention like the flow of the match, like how one person might have a disadvantage over the other, or like how like one misdrop could decide everything and then like the misdrop leads into something significantly worse. Like there are situations where that will happen, but like you don't like you can just point it out and like not say too much about it, or just like try to make it obvious that you're not saying this out of malice, but you're saying this to just like describe the situation to everyone.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect way to describe it. But yeah, thank you, Amber, for that question. Hopefully,
that was a good question.
It was helpful. It was a good thing to talk about. It was a great thing to discuss. Yeah, and feel free to ask us more commentary-related questions while we're here. The Q&A tab's open on the YouTube chat. You can also just drop it in the stream, and love to answer some more Qs. As we got knowledge and we had this show here. I just gotta say, it's been like a pleasure to host it so far. Episodes have been going super well, and hopefully you all have been enjoying them.
And hey, if you have been enjoying them, be sure to downplay the accomplishments of Apple. Be sure to share it with your friends. We are always welcome to have new people and just hang out with more members of the Tetris community. We're always excited to just share and get questions from more people. The more perspectives we have on, the better and more informative this is going to be. So just,
Yeah, and if you want to, and if you're looking to be on a podcast for an interview, I don't know, DM Edge or something.
Yeah, we don't have like formal. We don't have an email or any of that shit. But
no, we don't have any of that. We kind of, for OSW, we kind of just reached out to him and he was like, "Hey, are you interested?"
Yeah, but it's just like if you have an interesting story or an insight within the Tetris community or like probably any online gaming scene, just for the record, it'd probably be more interesting to interview people who we're like not familiar with. Like imagine if there's like people have links in Smash or other scenes, we can kind of compare differences, learn more about them, give some insights. So yeah, if you just have an interesting role in gaming, whether in the Tetris community or otherwise, you enjoy the vibe of the VODcast, you want to come on the show, we're definitely welcome to have like guests come on to like talk about specific topics in a roundtable format like we normally do here, or for more of an interview basis show. We'll work it out. And yeah, again, if you're excited to see our exclusive interview with OSW, you can come see that next week, February 9th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be having that here on the channel.
Someone had to get sick, though, so we had to delay that, unfortunately.
Dude, can we just let him go?
Yo, imagine being imagine being sick for a podcast, bro. That's unacceptable behavior. That is insane to do.
See, there's so much irony in there. I couldn't tell. I could like that was most definitely intentional, wasn't it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Unfortunately, we're gonna have OSW on tonight, but unfortunately we could not have him on. He's sick right now. Obviously, we want to interview a healthy OSW, a healthy voice on here. So let him rest up.
W stands for the wellness he's gonna feel next week when he's ready for our interview.
That is true. I should have installed antivirus in my body.
These days, antivirus software is not that great.
Just a side note, OSW is probably has one of the healthiest sleep schedules in the entire Tetris community.
Oh, that's true. 100% true.
Like
dude goes to bed at a regular time.
Like most nights, and like whenever we're like talking to him like in a group or whatever, like at 10 or 10:30 he's like, all right guys, gotta go to bed, waking up for school tomorrow at like 2:37 a.m.
Yo, chat, that's my goal right there. I wake up at 5:30 for school.
Bro wakes up at like 6
a.m.
Like, dude, bro wakes up at like 6 a.m. He's like middle school.
It's just because he's awesome. All right, our next commentary related question: how to get good at block stacker video game. Thanks for your commentary related question. I mean,
so you know how you like you play to improve and you're training your skills. So all the stuff that you're doing to just better yourself in Tetra League and in Sprint and in Blitz, I think you should try to do that more. Like, so just sort of like try to find more opportunities to improve and find ways that you can work on your skills. Just it's a day by day thing, and just sort of try to like play more.
Yeah. So do what you're do what you're doing, right? You're playing your game. You're playing your block stacker video game, and just do it again, and then do it again, and like eventually you'll just get better.
Yeah. Though I will say something, if we're actually gonna take this like a little bit seriously, and we're gonna like look at like if you want to learn what to look out for in commentary, you want to learn like names of setups in that. 4lol is a great resource. And for the more archaic shit that you'll probably only see QMK use, the Hard Drop Wiki is a great resource. Shouts to my boy QMK.
Yeah, shoutouts to QMK for losing to Edge.
Badgoblin, are you just chomping on a popsicle? How is that not melted?
I just manifested a strawberry popsicle out of the ether. Don't mind it.
Dude,
damn, I wish I had a...
I keep a mini fridge inside my pillow. That way I can wake up just as cold as I went to bed.
I just have windows next to my bed. But yeah,
shout out to my mom for bringing that in.
But yeah, it's just like there are plenty of resources around. There's actually a fair like good amount of like they're older videos, but there are a fair good amount of like fundamental YouTube tutorials that help you get better at the game.
Mm-hmm.
So look into those.
There are lots of YouTube guides,
and you can just like look at old commentary and see what did they say they did and what is on the player's board.
Yes, also true.
Much tell you that.
Watching your favorite commentators cast is an insane resource. Could be your favorite caster could be one of these two. Unlikely that it's me. And I think that probably the last thing we do are waiting for more Q&A questions. We did say that we were going to look at this Reddit thread. And
boy.
The Reddit thread.
Let's check this
out. I assume, how old is this?
This is a couple months
about
old.
A year.
Darn.
There's no way that's a year old. It's like, it was happening during, I think it came during TW. Oh. Wait, is it a year old? No, it's 8 months old. Okay.
Okay, well, it's on the bigger half of a year old.
All right.
It's like approaching a year. We're close enough.
And it's just like, I think in post... Probably just again, because it's just like, again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion on commentary. I do have to state this. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion on commentary. Anyone who you see that we're talking about their tier list on the stream, do not, like, harass them. get mad at them in any way. Everyone has different opinions on this kind of thing. So, with that said, and that being said, here's the first tier list.
Oh my goodness.
So, this actually kind of hybridizes scenes. This person's a fan of Modest, Kingsman, and Van Dweller.
Understandable.
And then we got Caboozled, Renge, Blizz, Garbo, Tang, and James Chen in here.
Yeah, that's Chris Tang and James Chen.
Yep, from Classic. Then you've got in B tier Sek, Jimothy, Sharky, Ben XT, Wirt J. Wirt J's commentary, I feel like it's underrated. I just want to point this out. Wirt J does not commentate a lot, but the guy's a nice voice and great knowledge.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's a very good commentator. He just doesn't calm that much.
Yep. And then we got in C, Dom, Jed, Asura, Ads 20,000, Blink, Tag, Sign, Nizdi, Shen, Wawi, Devo, Quick. And in D, Cadigan, Skyla, Smallfish, Duck, Plu, Kion, and Amaru and Badgoblin.
Bottom D tier, baby. That's me. That's me right there. That's me.
It's so funny to me.
I'm not going to lie. Half of the people in here, I didn't even know that they had commentated before. Those shoutouts. Very much did not enjoy
That Duck.
putting...
Duck's comment on the bottom.
Why am I on this list?
I heard you com some tournaments before. I don't know if Duck has ever commentated. And then I
don't think I've ever seen Duck commentate.
Yeah,
like,
and
ever.
Commando and I got fleshed into the no opinion / don't remember tier.
I want to say right now for this, it would be very surprising if they put me in the don't remember side of this category.
Listen, I'm just saying, it's actually crazy how I'm the first person that they list in no opinion, and it's not alphabetical
least notable person.
I am like, I'm the most like, I'm the person who like this guy thinks of first when he's like, I don't really give a shit, and I think that's kind of awesome. You know what I mean?
How conceptually do you put Renge in B tier and Modest in A tier and me in bottom of B tier? Am I that bad? Am I that much worse?
Actually, no. The answer's pretty obvious. Based off of who they put in, like in the top tiers, it's be a classic player.
I think this person, and this is no shot to them, I think they just kind of like the classic vibe a bit more.
Yeah, classic commentary. I think that's something we should have like mentioned before, but like classic commentary has such a different pacing when it comes to comms compared to guideline. Because Classic has the initial level 18 start, and oh goodness, Classic has the level 18 start, and then then it starts to build up in intensity as the players reach level transition, and like get to the higher levels, and then to kill screen. Like all the intensity starts to build up the later the match goes. Meanwhile, in something like guideline. It's like already into high gear because like the players can go at whatever speed they want.
Yeah, that is interesting to note. But we got like I think there are a couple more tier lists to look at, and then we have a few questions. I think we're good to wrap up. So
I saw this tier list and like I kind of took it seriously. Then I realized Reddit's the place where I should not be taking like things seriously.
This is just all in good fun. Again,
I'm noticing a theme in these B tiers.
So let's see it. So S tier in this one: Delicious, Node and play-by-play, Modest, Node and hybrid, and Microblizz, Node and color. Then A+, Garbo, Renge, and Devo. In A, they have Commando, Blarg, Gendrag Fan, Jimothy, themselves, Ors, and Signwave. In B, they have Badgoblin, Sek, specifically when he's not trolling, most collegiate Tetris League commentators, Wawi, Azura, Also when she's not trolling, which is interesting to note. I don't really think of Azura as a commentator who trolls.
No.
So, I don't know about that one, but again, maybe there's something that I don't know. Maybe I haven't seen something. Jed, Quick and Smart, and Tag. In C, there is Nizdi, Smallfish, Skyfire, Blink, Shen, and Edge, which is crazy. And I kind of, in this like back end to C, I think of us three, Shen, Blink, and myself as the people who are TOs who only commentate when they're forced to. You know what I mean? Like that's
and
us.
no one wants to be forced to com.
And then in D they put Dom, Sir Sheepadoodle, which is an interesting thing to tier.
Up.
I don't think
That's
Search
fucked
is
up.
even commentated that much. So that's interesting. And
Okay,
then
but when
most
Search
calls
does com, it's with Renge like 100% of the time, and it be hitting. That's all I'm saying.
yeah.
I have to say, I appreciate, I respect the boldness to not only put yourself in your own tier list, but to put yourself at A.
I'm trying to think.
You could genuinely figure.
I'm trying to recall Cabcom. What does Cabcom? Is it just UC? I think he does a good
I will
job.
be
I
honest.
think Caboozled, notably a commentator for Summertide Splash, I'm pretty sure.
I'll keep it a buck. I did not watch Summertide. I forgot.
I'll keep it a
And
buck
I said I was
with
going to
you.
rewatch.
I did not
and then
watch
I didn't.
Summertide either. It was during my graduation party. No way in hell I'm watching Summertide Splash.
I think I went back to watch it, and then I stopped midway through.
Okay,
Yeah,
you got farther
fair.
than I did. I'm
But,
pretty sure Cab does a pretty good job in UC.
Oh,
He
no,
kind
it
of comes
wasn't- It might not
UC,
have
I care about
excessively my thing with Cab comms in UC is that he comms being one of the best players. So he's punching a little above the bar for who the audience of UC is, but the commentary is fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd have to watch it for myself, but the thing is, I'm gonna be $1.50. I don't care about UC.
I mean,
I think
UC doesn't
comms
care
and
about
Todd's comms
itself.
shouldn't be this kind. I was gonna say there's not much UC left to care about, but
Yeah.
But I guess it's me just not knowing what Cab's comms sound like, but that it is very interesting.
I'll say it's a very rare sight to see Caboozled commentate, though. I think he's
yeah. All I'm saying is Edge's statements throughout the night stay holding up. That's all I'm saying.
Anyways, moving on to another tier list. I think this is the final one that we'll showcase in this segment.
Weren't there only 3?
I haven't been counting, man. In S tier, they have Delicious and Modest Tomato. In A tier, they have Renge, Caboozled Pie, Tag, Gendrag Fan, Edge. Damn, I'll take it. Shit. We got Jed, Davo, Sinewave.
I think we found Edge's
Johnny
favorite
Bones.
tier list.
Garbo when he's serious.
It was actually Edge's alt. That's why it's a deleted account. Deleted it just before reading off the post.
Yeah, that's why it took a while. My bad, guys. And then in B, we have Jimothy, Ben XT, Shen, Blizz, Commando, Azura, spelled with a Z, Quick and Smart, Badgoblin, and Misty. I think this is the first time that Misty has been put on the list. And then in C, they have Animeru, Skyfire, Search, Blink, Dom, Plu, and Ors. And then in D, you have Cowbell, Garbo, when he's memeing / angry, and most Taws / other weekly Tetris commentators. This tier list is a little bit interesting. I feel like kind of
This one is
contrasts
C
to
tier.
the other two.
Quick is crazy to me. I don't think I can think of bad Quick comms ever.
No.
He's one of the
Quick-
most
Quick's
consistent commentators. I can
Quick
think
is
of.
Quick is one of the I guess to be fair, B doesn't mean bad.
No, for
Goblin.
sure, but he said that the people who he ranked in S tier were the people who had highest game knowledge and most entertaining. I think that Quick is definitely one of the more knowledgeable commentators out there.
I will
do you think
also say I think these tier lists were posted kind of earlier in the Quick and Smart commentary timeline.
Yeah, definitely. Because this was 8 months ago, right?
This was before Sakura Blend.
Okay.
Just put that in. This is
Sakura
before their
Blend was a banger.
2023 Sakura Blend. So
Anyway,
Sakura
goddamn,
Blend was a good one.
people fucking don't like my comms. Actually, I don't know why I'm pretending to be surprised about that. I know people don't like my comms. I'm a very
So-
polarizing commentator to listen to, which is fair enough. I'm self-aware enough to understand why. I don't know. I feel like
but I mean, yeah,
I guess what I'd say
think
is I don't necessarily think I'm an amazing commentator objectively, but I think that a commentator like me needs to be in the commentary scene for its health.
Yeah, I also think as well, which I can't believe is something that I haven't mentioned yet, is there's such a narrow realm of objectivity for commentary, and 90% of stuff is based on human preference. It's opinion. And it should
This
be like
actually does
treated as
remind-
such.
This actually does remind me. I remember after one of the big tournaments, Modest was tweeting out, he was talking about his comms, and he was like, it was a great tournament and all, but I feel like I wasn't doing my best when it came to comms.
Yeah.
And someone in the replies was just like, I'm gonna be 100% honest, I muted everyone's comms, no offense.
Which, I mean,
And
is
That's
fine.
come up multiple times. People
if you
reading
don't
comms
like-
like a whole thing.
Yeah, if
That-
you don't like the
that's
commentary,
100
you don't like it, but at the end of the
Look,
day,
like-
don't make it like you're shitting on them. This is a preference.
Like,
Yeah, again, the separation between liking something and it being good.
It's fine to not like comms. It's not fine to say that you don't care about comms. Replying to a post where someone is talking about how like they weren't feeling great about their comms.
Yeah, especially if that. Yeah, the basis for that is they acknowledged that they hadn't put their best out on comms, and they're like, "You did a bad job on comms." Like,
There's
He's
always
like,
a
yeah,
time and a place
you
for
you
feedback,
added a lot.
which is what we were
Well,
talking
it's
about with
just
like the
like- it's just
unwanted
like-
feedback. You know what I mean?
It's like, dang, these comms hit different on mute. Like, don't do that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. With that, we've ended the Reddit segment. We have a couple more questions left before we wrap up episode 2 of the VODcast. First,
And
community
you don't
question.
understand. Like I said, no offense.
How to deal with an inexperienced duo / a duo that you can't really understand very well. Interesting.
So, what do you mean by deal with? Is I guess what I would say. Like, if you are a
If you're-
TO trying to figure out commentators, I would say you have two options, which is either separate them and put them with more experienced people, or give them opportunities to practice and improve their commentary.
Mhm.
Like, at a moment's notice, you cannot magically transform someone into someone
Yeah.
they are not.
And
You're
a
not
lot of
gonna get
people-
better at
It's
comms
work
because
with
you
them
want-
as a commentator.
Okay. So how do you work with someone who is inexperienced? Okay. So that
is
twofold. In the booth, you need to do what you are good at, and you need to give them easy layups. If you say lines about like a player and then literally ask them a question, say like, blah 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 is doing blah blah. What do you think about? Then they don't need to come up with some magic new thing to talk about. And a lot of what makes commentators bad, or at least inexperienced, is knowing what to bring up when. If you give them those segues and you give them opportunities to speak in ways you know will be productive and additional to the conversation, it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah. What I like. It's kind of hard because personally, I haven't dealt with that many inexperienced commentators. I can think of a few, and one instance like was a time where like I think I wasn't feeling 100%, so I like had a drop in the middle of it. But I think like trying to get a gauge for someone's experience firsthand is the best. Like try and get to know your partner beforehand in the tournament, and then like kind of go from there. Like if they don't know a whole lot, like just have them follow your lead, like Badgoblin said. Like kind of just like force them in a direction. That sounds a little too like manipulative, but like basically try to like give them a good push in the right direction when you're talking about a certain thing. Make sure they don't like interrupt you frequently. I've had one commentary situation happen where someone was just interrupting me with completely irrelevant information.
Yeah, and you can use breaks and things to talk with your about the commentary. Like, it doesn't need to be a closed system. Like, if you are having commentary troubles, or even if you're like, wow, this commentary is great, say that to your Yeah. Always great to hear that you're doing a good job. Always great to hear ways you can improve. It's just improves the experience.
The comm doesn't stand for just commentary. It stands for communication as well.
Mm-hmm. I also point this out, like, you can, during breaks, you can also make it like a conversation with like production. I know that like during streams, and you two may experience this when working with me when I've been a producer, is like during breaks, like if I notice something or people bring stuff to my attention that I think could be better, I'll bring it up to commentators. Like during breaks when the sets are going on. In addition, like if they ask me for feedback, I'm more than willing to give it. Because as I said, I may not be I may not be looking at gameplay and stuff that much because, like, the producer role, I have to be on my toes, replying to a lot of messages, contacting a lot of people, updating a lot of info in the CG system. But I am always listening to the audio and just kind of listening to the commentary so I can relate things back and forth. I would just say, dealing with the experienced duo, this happens a lot. This is probably more so a problem in, like, weekly commentary. Versus like, because a lot of the more established commentary circles, I'd say, funnily enough, aside from like the super majors put a lot of new duos together, but I think traditional majors often cast like normally like found duos, which is pretty interesting when you think about that, because you think it'd be the other way around, right? But it's just not like that. It's just like in weekly commentary, that is like, those are like your moments to kind of start these connections with a potential duo. You know what I mean? Like, that's the best place to start, which is why I don't understand what's the whole point of like even like ranking or considering like weekly commentary in something that you're going to criticize or put on a tier list, which we saw earlier, because it is quite literally the place, like the whole emphasis around weeklies is for them to be learning experiences. You know what I'm saying? Learning experience for the producers, the commentary. It's your way to break into the scene. So it's not supposed to be stellar.
Yeah, it is. It does feel a little like it can be discouraging when someone's like trying to start out commentary. They like go into like a weekly TOS or something. And then someone just goes off on like social media and is like, wow, this commentary was like complete ass. Like when it comes to especially like the weeklies, especially, it is just people trying to get a start. So like, I'm not like, if I go into like one of those weeklies and I listen to the comms, it's just like, oh, this isn't that great, but like, give them the benefit of the doubt, because they're just starting. Like, everyone has to start somewhere. Some people get a lucky start and some people don't. That's just how it is in life. And like,
it's a mindset thing. I'm a very bloomer mindset person when it comes to commentary. I believe that anyone can become a good commentator. I do not believe that everyone is a good commentator. Those two things aren't the same. You're going to have to put in work to improve. Commentary is a skill. You can't just get in the booth and instantly know exactly what to say, when to say it, how to say it. You're going to have to try, and you're going to have to fail to then do better.
Absolutely.
Because like we said earlier, like a lot of people like to criticize comms, but a lot of them probably don't understand the difficulty that comes with doing comms itself. Like, it's a lot more complex. It's like it is still it's still easy to get into. Don't get me wrong, but it's still a lot more. There's still a lot more that goes into commentary than one might initially think. We're not just like watching the match and announcing what's happening.
Exactly. Like this whole time, like I haven't even touched upon things like chat engagement. I haven't talked about things like ad reads and donos for the stream itself. I haven't talked about many of the other facets. It's not just watch and talk about Tetris.
Like it could literally, we could literally do an entire part 2 probably this 2-hour episode about commentary.
We'll say though that like
half of it.
We'll say,
Oh,
though,
yeah.
that stuff like ad reads and chat engagement are usually up to the TOs. Um, from what sometimes I'm told, yeah, don't look at chat at all, or like don't read out chat when you're doing the matches. And
See,
sometimes
that
it's
makes
just
me
like, oh
sad
yeah, if
though. I feel like as a
like,
viewer, I like being interacted with.
yeah, no, I appreciate like engagement as well. Like that's why like obviously like when I'm doing something like stream to Twitch, I like to look at chat and I like to talk with them because like
Mhm.
it like giving that connection between chat and the stream makes it feel like they're like it's just like, oh yeah, they're being heard, and it's like they're not going unnoticed. It's not like someone's just like reading words on a teleprompter or something.
Yeah, there's
But at the
definitely
same
time and
time,
place for that chat
yeah,
interaction, like as
yeah,
well.
exactly.
You know how to
There's
do
a
it
time and
properly too.
place. There's a time and place, and sometimes you can read chat and see some of the most abhorrent or toxic things ever, and it's really funny to see that message and then see it instantly disappear because someone's in production just
Hmm.
getting rid of those. Shout outs
Yeah,
to production, for real.
absolutely. But yeah, just in general, like my main thing to talk about, like dealing with experience too, is it's a lot of on the fly adaptation. You need to
Hmm.
communicate clearly, and if it's something that, like you mentioned, like it's an accent issue or something, you need to try hard to understand what you can and work off of that. And then probably in the future, you just know that you two are not a good fit as a casting pair,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
that's all right.
you
There are people who aren't good fits. You will not work as a caster with everyone. Like not everyone's
like
like
yeah,
that.
no. Being able to work with everyone is like a very like miraculous talent that only someone like only two people will have in your like
Yes, very rare.
in a it's very rare, and there's nothing wrong with not having the ability to adapt with everyone
Hmm.
because like I surely can't adapt with everyone. I feel like I can adapt with a good chunk of people, but I certainly can't adapt with everyone. And like I think Badgoblin probably agrees. um I'm saying things on your behalf, but like I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, no, I absolutely agree. I think that calming with different people takes different skill sets. And just because you calm really well with someone doesn't mean you calm really well with everyone. And you shouldn't really expect yourself to calm really well with anyone.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It's interesting to kind of look back on comms and say, oh, well, you did bad in terms of this. But it's I don't know. You can do that, but then you kind of have to push deeper to the why. Like, was it a thing with the duo? Was it a thing with just you? Were you having a bad day? Because to be honest, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Commentators are people. Sometimes your
Yeah.
comms aren't going to be hitting because of something that's happening in your life, because of how you're feeling that day, because you have walking pneumonia in the booth. Some things are just outside circumstances that are going to affect
Yeah.
the quality of comms. That's also something as a viewer you have to consider. Like, this person didn't do the greatest job on comms. Do I think that was because they are a truly abhorrent commentator, or do I think that maybe something happened which detracted from the quality?
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think our final question for now, unless something really good comes in, is from Hugh asking how to commentate with social anxiety. This is an interesting
Pretend
one.
no one else is there. um
I would say in my if this were me, right? I were trying to break into commentary and I like had social anxiety. The main thing to think about, right, is at least in this case, I'd say the only person that would matter in the moment is your co. Because that is the person who you're having the conversation with.
Yeah,
Everyone else is just
exactly.
a bystander, but to keep the flow, you need to focus on your co. And in that case, I'd say probably if I were in this instance and I were anxious about commentating, I would try and co-commentate with someone who I already know very well. I
Yeah.
try to
Mhm.
co-commentate with like a friend or
Yeah.
just like a really cool acquaintance who I want to get to know better. Could also use it as an opportunity to try and meet some new friends and people who you've talked to briefly, want to get to know better. You can kind of use it as a gateway to interact more with them. I think that's a pretty
Yeah.
cool thing that you can do with commentary as well. It's also a way to meet people
Like
on the grassroots side.
but yeah, yeah, really, really, yeah, the best start is to like find someone you can work with that's like a good co-commentator. I can't exactly recommend people because
yeah, and that's just
very,
like at this
rare
point
business.
as well.
But
Like I think, of course, when you're starting, rather than the quality of how you guys mesh well as like a duo, I would really just say think about your comfort level talking around the person, holding
Yes.
that conversation,
Yeah.
and how you guys.
That's
flow
what I was
together.
going to say. Think of comms not as a performance, but as a conversation.
Absolutely.
Your goal should be to communicate things to the viewers through that conversation. You are not trying to talk to the viewers. You are talking to your co-commentator. The viewers will hear what you are saying.
If you think about like this podcast is kind of like the same way in just podcasting in general, because it's like it's an audience viewing a conversation between three people, and then the harder part for a podcast, I'd say, is fluidly like blending in the viewer interaction, like how we do it here. And our main way so far, which you guys have seen if you've watched both episodes, has been the Q&As. That's kind of how we brought in the engagement that way. But you can also think of it like this, like if you viewed podcasts in general, you can take pointers for how they continue the flow of their conversations. As if you think about it and you boil it down to a simple level, video game commentary is like a heavily topic focused podcast relating to the visuals of the game versus something like this where it's a more loose conversation that we're just having. So I'd say also kind of in a way, if you just want to like look better into like the charisma or flow side of commentary, how people continue conversations, listening to podcasts could also be a good reference for you.
And obviously this advice isn't going to apply to you in particular, Hugh, but stream. If you're a streamer, you get a leg up in commentary automatically because a lot of those skills overlap. That's why you have so many streamers who become commentators starting out from a much higher place in terms of quality comms. Because you're just used to talking. You're used to talking to people, being your chat. You're used to acknowledging things that are happening in-game while talking about things outside of it. It builds a lot of the skills that you need.
Yeah, it's funny for me because I'm just going the other way around. Just the commentator going
It's a two-way road. It'll help.
Yeah. But yeah,
and Hugh does stream, so that is just like a good thing as well. Like you're already getting your foot in the door, already learning how to continue a conversation with visuals on the screen. As you add someone else into.
And with a lot of people, who might be watching you, just try like. Obviously, like when it comes to commentary, you should keep like things to improve on in mind, but don't think about it in the moment. Don't think about like what people are saying in chat about comm quality if they do decide that, because first of all, that's very mean, and second of all, there's not much you can do in the moment to change your commentary.
Yeah,
like anything that comes in terms of improvement, whether it be for something like commentary or playing like just like the game itself, is like you can't improve it like in the moment. You can't instantly toggle and become the best out there. Like it's something to look back on once you're done with it, and then once you're in a place to like be able to look back on what you did that time, like when you were working on commentary or working on your game, that's when you can like look back, you can see, oh, I did this wrong. Oh, I think this was really good, but like this part I could probably touch up on more. It kind of works the same way. You look back at it later, and then you can improve from there. Don't think about how well you're doing in the moment. Just focus on the commentary. Focus on the match.
There's also the thing of like, for viewer count and your viewership, this is maybe a bit of a cynical truth, but the people who care are always going to be vastly outnumbered by the people who don't. Your comms will be, you could be the best commentator in the world, and you could be the worst commentator in the world. And for most people, the comms are still going to be, yeah, that was pretty good. That's the opinion of the majority, no matter what.
It's true. Silent majority principle always does. It just applies everywhere. It's crazy.
The people who like to talk the most also just typically don't like doing it themselves.
Yeah, that's just it's just a truth with human nature.
They have so much power, just like tapping away at their screens and just like looking behind their monitors, making fun of you.
Something like that. You can always differentiate between someone who's just trying to hate and someone who's genuinely being constructive because they appreciate you and they want you to be better. That's also something to keep in mind. Again, I do like prefacing this by saying like I'm not like saying this in a way to try and mitigate criticism or anything like that. I love learning new stuff about like the formats I'm doing, updating my terms and stuff like that to be better. But it's just like at some point you can't please everyone, so you have to, and you can only implement so many changes to make your craft better. So in that case, I would try and pick the advice on a scale that's like the easiest to implement and also given to you by the people who care about you and your craft the most.
Yeah.
And, I think with that, let's see what I'm going to chime in on. That would end.
And that in mind, I do want to say, if you do end up like going into commentary, like good luck.
Yeah,
hopefully you stick around with commentary, and hopefully like you're not like discouraged by it. And if you find out it's not for you, that's also okay. Like, just like hopefully like when you try to learn comms, when you try to go through with all of this, like hopefully you have fun with it. Because that's what we do as commentators. Like we try to like. We don't commentate just to like watch. We don't commentate to watch people play. We have fun watching the matches unfold. Like, and that's essentially us. Like us commentating is essentially us sharing that passion.
Yeah. Exactly. If there's one thing to take away, commentating is hard, but commentating is also fun. Yeah, it's something that you can get into if you enjoy watching, if you want to help out the scene, if you want to get a chance to get closer to your favorite players and talk about how much you enjoy just watching Tetrio. If you want to get involved in a community where commentary is both needed and supported, then Tetris community is a great example. There's lots of helpful resources out there, and whether you have never commed a game in your life, never seen a Twitch stream, or you're the most avid Tetrio Cup and Gestress Cup and PK event, and literally if you've seen every tournament known to man, you will find a place regardless.
That's true. Absolutely true. But with that, I think we're at a good closing point here. Another 2 hour on the VODcast. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. This is a great episode, in my opinion. Yeah,
I think it's good that we had like two people who are very familiar with the topic and like passionate about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also, it's just like I feel like I had a pretty interesting perspective as well because I'm not like a person who commentates very often, but I see a lot of commentary.
Yes, you're on sort of the other side.
You're the one who gets the commentators.
Yeah, which is a pretty interesting perspective at that. But if you are late though, need to see more of this, the VOD will be up. It's in the name.
Yeah, it's called the VODcast for a reason.
Immediately after we end here, but I think it was a great conversation. Definitely worth listening back on. And as always, within the first day, I go back and I timestamp the whole episode. So if you want to come back in like a day, try and find out what segments that you'd be interested in there. That will be when it's all processed. And at least for now, I'm not downloading Love Light School Idol Festival 2 because we are not 1,000 subs. But, dude, what did I like play like when I opened my phone? Like you probably heard it earlier. Like
I heard like a small bite, and I was just like, "What was that?"
I was like, "What the hell happened?" Like I just unlocked my phone. But yeah, I really do appreciate everyone who's been listening, and again, if you do enjoy more, you want to be in tune for the OSW interview next week.
Yeah, next week we're
February 9th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to like this stream so we can help more people get into the VODcast and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're so close to 1,000 subs. It'd be so cool to hit it. And this is where we're hosting this podcast exclusively right now on this channel.
Yeah.
And the sooner that we get 1,000 subs, the sooner that we can start the Commando Square One plane ticket fund. We're gonna ship this guy off.
Oh my god! I got things in the works. Stay tuned. Also, stay tuned for next week where we finally figured out what OSW stands for.
That is true. We can ask him.
Yeah, but if there's nothing else to say,
I don't think there's anything else to say. I think that we might be closing it off.
All right, well, thank you all for coming. Thank you for submitting your questions, hanging out in chat, being there to support, to watch, and to enjoy the second episode of the VODcast. We will be back next week on Friday, 7 p.m., an hour early. Don't forget.
It's true.
So, yeah, see you then, and thank you so much for watching the...
No, we're not. We're doing this again. Say it one more time.
Wait, you said the again?
It's not
one more time. Sorry, I need to get myself mentally prepared.
Third time's a charm.
So bad.
Thank you so much for watching the
VODcast.
Oh my god.
So true, Questy.
I hate this. Oh god.